I always believed secrets were for strangers, not for people who shared the same bed every night. But that belief shattered the moment I opened a drawer I wasn't supposed to. It was a normal Sunday afternoon, the kind of lazy day when the house smells like coffee and everything feels safe. My husband, Adeel, was out buying groceries, and I was looking for batteries in his study drawer. That's when I found the envelope. It was thick, sealed, and marked with a date from 10 years ago. Curiosity tugged at me, louder than the voice in my head screaming, "Don't open it." But I did. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. A woman I'd never seen before holding a newborn baby. My husband is standing next to her, smiling. His hand on her back, a hospital bracelet, my breath caught in my throat. I kept flipping through them, heart pounding like a war drum until I saw the last picture. It was a photo of that same baby wearing the exact same blue knitted hat I had saved in our memory box. The baby we had adopted from overseas. But no agency. No paperwork. No officials. Just her. And him. And our son. I sat frozen, my hands trembling, questions screaming in my mind. Who was that woman? Why did Adeel have these photos? Could she be our son's real mother? Before I could even process it, I heard the front door open. "Areeba? I got your favorite chips," Adeel called out cheerfully. I shoved everything back into the drawer, slammed it shut, and stood there, heart racing, a lump in my throat. He walked in, smiled like nothing was wrong. And all I could think was, what else is he hiding from me? For years, I believed I was living a life most people only dream of. My name is Areeba. I'm 38, a mother, a wife, and until recently, I thought I was deeply loved. Adeel and I met when I was 26, in the most unexpected wayat, a friend's wedding. He wasn't the loud, charming type. He was the quiet one in the corner, holding a cup of chai, watching the dance floor like it was a movie he didn't belong in. I was the opposite, laughing, dancing, pulling everyone into madness. But somehow we clicked. Our conversations were slow and meaningful. He listened, really listened, like what I had to say actually mattered. That's rare, you know, in a world where everyone just waits for their turn to speak. We married within a year. Everyone said we were rushing, but we didn't care. When it feels right, it just does. The first few years were beautiful. Late night walks, bird toast breakfasts, laughing at stupid inside jokes every moment felt like home. But the one thing we wanted more than anything was a child. That journey wasn't easy. We tried for years. Countless hospital visits, painful procedures, the crushing silence of one negative pregnancy test after another. I remember crying into Adeel's chest, whispering, "What if we're just not meant to be parents?" He would always hold me close and say, "If there's a child out there meant for us, we'll find them, even if they're born halfway across the world." And we did. We adopted Adam when he was just 5 weeks old. A tiny bundle with curious eyes and the softest cry. The agency was reputable. The process took nearly 2 years. Background checks, paperwork, sleepless nights of waiting, but it was all worth it the moment we held him in our arms. Adam completed us. Or so I thought. Adeel was a wonderful father. Patient, playful, protective. He sang lullabies with a voice completely out of tune. Read bedtime stories with exaggerated voices that made Adam giggle till he hiccuped. We were that kind of family people looked at and smiled, the kind that posts warm Sunday brunches on Instagram and has matching pajamas at Christmas. But behind those perfect photos were tiny cracks I chose not to see. Like the times Adeel would zone out when Adam asked about his birth country. Or how he always changed the subject when I mentioned maybe visiting there one day, showing Adam his roots. I thought it was just discomfort. That he didn't want to confuse Adam or bring up painful memories. I never imagined it was guilt. That envelope in the drawer changed everything. Suddenly, our love story wasn't so perfect. Suddenly, my husband wasn't just my partner, he was a puzzle I couldn't solve. And my son was no longer just mine. After I found the envelope, everything around me began to feel artificial. The smile on Adeel's face. The rhythm of our routine. The way he kissed Adam's forehead every night like nothing was wrong. I didn't say anything not yet. I couldn't. I needed time to process. Time to watch him. Because deep down, a terrifying thought had taken root. What if my husband never told me the truth about our son's adoption? That night, as I lay next to him, I couldn't sleep. Every breath he took felt like a lie. My mind kept replaying the images: the woman, the hospital, the newborn, Adeel smiling and no sign of me. Who was she? Why was he there? Why wasn't I told? Over the next few days, I became someone I didn't recognize. Careful, observant, secretive. While Adeel went to work, I stayed back, pretending I wasn't feeling well. But in truth, I was digging. I opened the drawer again. The envelope was still there. This time, I noticed something new tucked behind the photographs was a folded letter, yellowed with time. It was handwritten. Shaky penmanship. Foreign ink. Dated the same day Adam was born. My hands trembled as I read it. I trust you, Adeel. You said he'll have a better life there. Please don't let him forget me. No name. No signature. Just heartbreak etched into ink. I stood there, the letter pressed against my chest, trying not to collapse. Why would the mother write directly to Adeel? Not the agency? Not the couple? Had this adoption not been legal? I tried to act normal. I had to. For Adam. But then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, Adeel's phone lit up on the counter while he was in the shower. I never checked his phone before. I never had a reason to. Until now. The message preview was short, but sharp enough to cut through my chest. I'm in town. I need to see him. You promised. I dropped the phone like it burned me. My legs gave out, and I slid to the floor, breathless. She was here. The woman from the photos. Adam's birth mother. And Adeel knew. He had known all along. Not just about her, but that she might come back one day. And he never told me. I sat there, staring at the blank wall, as my world shifted under me. He built this life with lies. And now, the past he buried was knocking at our door. Literally. I kept staring at that message on his phone like it might disappear if I blinked enough times. I'm in town. I need to see him. You promised. What promise? What kind of man hides a promise like that for 10 years? I knew I should confront him. Demand answers. Scream. Cry. But instead I froze. The kind of stillness that only comes when your world feels like it's about to crumble. Because I wasn't just scared of what he'd say, I was terrified he'd confirm everything I feared. That night, I pretended to sleep as Adeel slipped into bed beside me. His arm brushed mine. Warm. Familiar. But it felt foreign now. Like I was lying next to a stranger who wore my husband's face. I stared at the ceiling for hours, while his breathing settled into a peaceful rhythm. How could he sleep? I couldn't help but whisper in my mind, "What else have you hidden from me, Adeel? Who even are you?" The next morning, I acted like everything was normal. Breakfast, school drop-off, kisses on the cheek. But I watched him like a hawk. I needed to know more before I exploded. So, I did something I never thought I'd do in our marriage. I followed him. He said he had a client meeting at 11 a.m. in Gulbert. But instead, he drove to a quiet little cafe near Model Town. He parked, checked his reflection, and walked inside. A few minutes later, she arrived. The woman from the photos. Even after all these years, she looked the same. The same sad, searching eyes. Only now she had a tired kind of beauty, like someone who had waited too long for something that might never come. They didn't hug, but they sat close, talked quietly. I couldn't hear them from where I was parked across the street, but I didn't need to. Their body language said it all. This wasn't business. This wasn't just catching up. This was history. After 20 minutes, Adeel pulled out his phone, showed her something on the screen. Her eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth with one hand, nodding. I could barely breathe. Had he shown her a picture of Adam? Was that the promise? That he'd let her see him one day? Did he plan to introduce her behind my back? The thought made my stomach twist. When he came home that evening, I sat at the edge of our bed, gripping the letter from the drawer like a weapon. He noticed the change in me immediately. "You okay?" he asked, setting his keys down. I didn't answer. He moved closer. "Areeba, what's wrong?" I stood slowly, holding the letter between us. His eyes dropped to it, and in that split second, I saw it the fear. Not confusion, not denial. Fear. That's when I knew I wasn't imagining anything. "Adeel," I said, my voice shaking. "What is this? Who is she? And why does she think you owe her something?" He didn't answer at first. Just sat down, slowly. Rubbed his hands over his face. "I was going to tell you," he whispered. Always the same line, I thought bitterly. They were always going to tell us, just not today. "I need the truth," I said. "Now." He looked up at me, eyes red. And what he said next broke me all over again. "I need the truth," I repeated, my voice barely holding together. "Who is she, Adeel? Why does she want to see Adam?" Adeel looked at me like a man cornered by his past. Then he said it. Soft. Measured. Like he'd practiced it 1,000 times in his head. "She's Adam's mother. Areeba. His real mother. And I never told you the whole story because I thought I was protecting you." My knees buckled, and I sat down before I collapsed. "I already know that," I whispered, showing him the photos. "What I don't know is why you were with her, why there's no agency name, why did she write to you, why is there no record of the adoption anywhere outside your folder?" He looked down. And then, the second twist hit me like a bullet through the chest. "I didn't adopt Adam through an agency," he said. "There was no agency, no paperwork. She gave him to me directly." Silence, the kind that rings in your ears. I blinked. Once, twice. "What?" I breathed. "She was a university student from Sri Lanka," he continued, voice trembling. "I met her during a medical outreach program 10 years ago. She was pregnant, abandoned by her family, terrified. I helped her through the pregnancy. She didn't want the baby, and said her life would be ruined if anyone found out. She begged me to take him." I shook my head, refusing to believe what I was hearing. "You brought a baby across borders without legal papers?" "No." "No, he had documents. I made sure of that. I found someone, paid them to prepare the papers. I wanted us to have him. I knew how much you were hurting. I couldn't bear watching you fall apart." I stood up, my skin burning. "So instead of trusting me, you brought home someone else's baby like it was a souvenir? Lied to me? Lied to the world? Made me believe we adopted him the right way?" He reached for me, desperate. "I did it for us. For you. For Adam. I thought I was saving 3 lives." Tears rolled down my face, but I didn't wipe them. "And now?" I asked. "Now she's here, and you're meeting her behind my back?" He nodded, slowly. "She never wanted to interfere. She said she'd stay away, but she reached out last week, said she couldn't live without knowing if he was okay. She promised she wouldn't take him. Just one meeting. Just once. I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my son, was unraveling. "You don't get to decide that alone, Adeel," I said, voice rising. "You don't get to play God with my motherhood." He was crying now too, but I didn't care. Because just when I thought the betrayal couldn't cut deeper, he whispered, "She already saw him." My heart stopped. "What did you say?" He swallowed hard. "That day last week, when I said I took him to the museum, she was there. She sat on the bench, watched him play. I told her it was too risky to talk to him, so she just watched, from afar, for 10 minutes. And just like that, everything inside me shattered. This woman, this stranger, had been in front of my son, breathing the same air, watching him smile, watching him live the life she gave up, and I didn't even know. I don't know how I got through the night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, that woman, sitting just feet away from my son. Watching him like a ghost from a past I never knew existed. I didn't speak to Adeel. Not after what he said. She already saw him. That sentence echoed in my head like a curse. By morning, I had made up my mind. If she could look at my son from afar without my consent, I had every right to look her in the eye and demand the truth. So, I found her. I went through Adeel's call history, traced the number. She was staying in a small rented apartment in Lahore, not far from the same cafe where they'd met. I knocked on the door, heart pounding. When she opened it, I froze. She looked exactly like she did in the photos, but older, worn, and haunted. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "You must be Areeba," she said softly, almost like she'd been expecting me. "I need to talk to you," I said, pushing the door slightly. "Mother to mother." She hesitated, then nodded and stepped aside. The apartment was bare. One suitcase. A small photo frame on the table of Adam. I clenched my fists. "You don't get to have that." She looked down, ashamed. "I'm sorry. I needed something." I sat across from her, my voice shaking. "You gave him away. You disappeared. Why now?" Her hands trembled in her lap. "I was young, scared, alone. My family would have disowned me. Adeel was kind. He said he and his wife had been trying for years, that you'd love him like your own. I trusted him." I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. "You don't get to pop back into our lives like this. You had your chance." She looked up, eyes glistening. "I know. I'm not here to take him. I swear. I just needed to see with my own eyes that he's okay. That I made the right choice." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then she said something that broke me all over again. Adeel promised me one day, when he was old enough, I could meet him. Tell him the truth. My breath caught. "What?" He promised I'd be part of his life. Quietly. At the edges. But still there. He sent photos, updates. He even let me send him gifts on his birthdays. Said they were from an aunt abroad. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those times Adam got random books or handmade toys from a family friend overseas, they were from her. I stood up, my chest heaving. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me?" I shouted. "To my family?" Tears streamed down her face, but I didn't care. "You watched him grow from a distance while I lived every moment thinking I was his only mother. You made me a lie without even knowing me." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "But you did," I said, voice breaking. And so did he. I turned to leave. And then she said something that stopped me cold. "I didn't come back for me, Areeba. I came back because he wrote to me. Adam." My heart dropped. "No, that's not possible. He doesn't even know who you are." She reached into her bag and handed me a folded letter. A child's messy handwriting. I recognized it immediately. "Dear Auntie R, thank you for the books. Mom says you live far away, but always remember my birthday. I hope one day I can meet you. I feel like I already know you. Love, Adam." The room spun. My knees buckled. Adam had written to her? Adeel had kept the line open. Behind my back. Behind my motherhood. I staggered out of the apartment, vision blurred by tears. I didn't know what was real anymore. My son. My husband. My life. Everything I thought I knew had been rewritten. When I got home that evening, the house felt foreign. Adam's shoes by the door. His school bag was hanging on the hook. Adeel's wallet on the counter. Normal things in a house that no longer felt like mine. Adeel looked up when I walked in, his eyes instantly searching my face for forgiveness. But I had none to give. "You lied to me every day for 10 years, I said. "And what's worse, you let her lie to me too." He stood up, desperate. "Areeba, I didn't know he wrote to her until recently. I never meant—" "No," I interrupted, holding up my hand. "No more excuses. No more lies." He went quiet. And then I said something I never imagined would come from my mouth. "I want a divorce." He froze. "Areeba, please. Don't do this to us. To Adam." I looked him in the eye, finally seeing him clearly for who he really was. "I'm not doing this to Adam," I said. "You did." He broke down. But I didn't. Because I couldn't afford to. I had a son to protect. A soul to rebuild. A life to reclaim. The next day I sat Adam down on the living room rug. His little eyes sparkled with innocence. With trust. Trust I had to handle like glass. "There's something I need to tell you," I said, holding his tiny hand. "Something about how you came into our lives." His brows furrowed, confused. I didn't tell him everything. Not yet. But I told him the truth in pieces his young heart could hold. "That woman you saw last week? The one at the museum? She's someone who knew you when you were a baby. She cared about you. But Baba and I, we've been your parents since then. We always will be." He stared at me for a long moment, then leaned in and hugged me tightly. "You're my mama," he whispered. "Only you." I don't think I've ever cried so hard. Weeks passed. Adeel moved out. We started custody discussions amicable but cold. He wanted joint custody. I didn't fight it. Adam loved him, and I couldn't take that away. But my heart? It would never be his again. As for Hiroshni, that was her Naomi sent her a letter. I told her I understood her pain. But I also told her this: you don't get to walk in and out of my son's life on your terms. If Adam chose to meet her one day as a grown man, that would be his right. But not as a child. Not under my roof. She didn't reply, and I didn't expect her to. Sometimes silence is the only closure we get. One evening, a few months later, Adam and I were sitting on the balcony watching the rain. He looked up and asked, "Mama, do you think some people are just meant to find each other, even if it's not forever?" I smiled through the ache in my chest. "Maybe," I said. "But I think the ones who stay, who fight for you, who tell you the truth even when it's hard, those are the ones worth holding on to." He nodded, thoughtful. Then he leaned his head on my shoulder. At that moment, I knew. The truth had broken me. But it has also set me free. I wasn't just Adam's mother because I raised him. I was his mother because I chose him every single day. Even when others didn't. Even when the man I loved built our family on secrets. I chose love. I chose the truth. I chose him. And maybe that's all that really matters in the end. Title: We adopted a baby from Oversten years later. His birth mother knocked on our door at the end.